Hello and welcome to One Cool Thing, PC Mag's daily show where we show you some cool things, which we have here at PC Mag. This is back to school week, where every day we are showing a different category of products and talking about which in that category would be best for kids going back to school of various ages. And today is e-readers. Today is devices to do your reading on. And kids read, right? The kids today?
I read, so yeah, some of them read.
Actually, no, I would say that the kids definitely do read. I mean, my daughter, as a lot of you regular viewers know, I am a parent. My daughter, who is in middle school, reads a lot of books. She reads them often on a Kindle, so this e-reader thing is really relevant. And now, in this back to school theme, what we've been generally doing is we've been talking about different age ranges, and I guess we can start with college students.
Yeah, you know, one thing when I was in college and switching apartments was that I didn't, even though I love physical books, I just never had the space for any of them. So e-readers, I don't even remember what age I was when I bought my first Kindle, but as you can see, this is my second Kindle.
Okay.
But it was like a really great way for me to cut down on all the stuff that I had to move, because anyone who's had to move and pack up a dorm knows that packing up books, especially textbooks, is really awful.
Now, this is a Kindle Paperwhite, right?
Yeah, this is the Kindle Paperwhite.
And that's kind of the default e-reader that we recommend to people who are just thinking, oh, I need an e-reader, right?
Yeah, it's like, in terms of like, all Kindles I think are pretty affordable unless you're going for the super high-end Oasis.
Yeah, I mean, we have here, so this is the Kindle Paperwhite. We have that's 120, right?
Yeah, I believe it's 120,
Okay.
119.
We have the $89 Kindle here, which is a lower resolution screen. And then we have the gorgeous $250 Kindle Oasis over here.
Yeah. But you know, so like this is somewhere in the middle. You do have the backlighting, so you can read it in bed or at night or just in a dark place. And it's easy to read with one hand. So I read on the subway like this all the time. No problem.
Now, what about textbooks? What about handouts? What about the kinds of things kids in college would have to read in college? Can those be read on a Kindle?
That's a good question. We have, if you look at our roundup, we have a great chart that tells you what formats are supported by each thing. Generally with Kindles, you're gonna get PDFs, Mobis, which are basically Kindle's own format. But if you are looking for something with a wider range, the Kobo is, I think, the most comprehensive ebook reader out there.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And so what we have here is the nicest Kobo in the Kobo lineup. This is the Kobo Aura One. Wow, this is really shiny and pretty, isn't it?
It's super shiny and it's super pretty. It's super pretty. The back is textured, which I find to be nice. And like, I actually kind of like that the power button's
up there.
Power button's up there. It's like really easy to use. And then the other thing you have to think about is if you want it for textbooks or PDFs or pirated textbooks and PDFs.
I think if you're reading a lot of PDFs and EPUBs and open formats like that, Kobo is really the way to go.
Kobo, I would agree with you that Kobo is the way to go in that sense, especially if like you're like me and you went to Project Gutenberg a lot, so that you didn't have to actually buy the school textbook versions of classics, especially if you're in literature. It's really easy to just plug it in and drag and drop.
Yeah, though one thing I guess to pay attention to is what formats your university recommends.
Yeah.
Because I know that, for instance, there's a lot, the ability to borrow books from public libraries is oddly easier on a Kindle than on a Kobo, even though Kobo owns the software that you would use to do it.
That's kind
Is
of
that weird?
crazy. Yeah, that is weird. I never actually got to use the library version of that, but I know they send it wirelessly to Kindles. So what's the user interface look like for Overdrive on Kobo?
You have to load this weird Adobe Digital Editions application on your PC, which is
That's
all
too much
like
work.
buggy
That's way
and
too
weird
much
modal
work.
dialogues,
That's
and
too
then
much
copy the
work.
files.
That's
exactly,
too much work.
exactly. You can so public libraries, Kindle feels like the way to go. Now, another device I wanted to point out over here is this over here. We haven't reviewed this size of it, but this is the Sony digital paper.
Oh.
And it is insanely expensive. It's like, there's two sizes of it. They're like $600 and $800, something like that. But in terms of large format e-reading of PDFs, there's not a lot else out there like it.
So if you, let's say you're a business student and you have a lot of graphs and a lot of charts to look through, you would recommend this.
Yeah, what Sony says a lot of people in law school get these kinds of things.
That makes sense, because if you've ever read a law brief, which I have, the text gets real tiny and you get real tired. And that's another thing to talk about, just e-ink and how much better it is for your eyes over a long period of time of reading.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people are going to ask, well, why don't I just get an iPad?
Right. And I think that's just like eye strain is real. And just in my experience, reading on my phone versus reading on a Kindle or an e-ink reader that actually lights up, so I don't actually have to worry about reading in the dark or in a dark library or just, sad emo dorm tunes. Or just, that was a thing, studying to sad emo dorm tunes. Like, you can just read for longer. You can annotate really easily, and I happen to think that it saved my eyes in college.
Okay. And now, speaking of annotating, one interesting aspect is that the Sony digital paper and something else we don't have here, which is, because it's on the tablets roundup. There's something called the Onyx Books, which is another super expensive, large format one. They let you take notes.
Ooh.
In e-ink.
Ooh.
Isn't that cool?
That is cool, because when I annotate with my Paperwhite and with Kindles, it just basically, it's very and then I give up.
Yeah, Sony and Onyx Books, both of which are these $800 huge e-readers, both operate as note-taking tablets. Although I feel like then we are really leaning towards getting an iPad
with
that $49 crayon.
One thing that I will say is that if you are an art student, it's probably better to invest in one iPad, especially if comics are a thing that you like to read, because I think e-readers are fine for manga or Japanese comics, because those generally don't tend to be in color. They're not super detailed with the art per se.
Except, so we do a lot of manga reading in our house.
Okay.
And the problem that we run into is that the e-reader screen is too small, and a lot of the smaller text just becomes unreadable.
Oh, that is a problem.
So I would say, if you're going to read manga, you need to do it on one of these bigger 8-inch devices at least.
So that's something to keep in mind if that's what you primarily are into. But if you're into graphic novels and American style comics, I tried reading Saga on the Kobo Aura H2O when I was reviewing that last year, and you just lose all the color, you lose all the detail.
You need color.
You basically want to read it on a tablet.
Exactly.
Or worst comes to worst, your Comixology app on your phone.
Let's take some questions.
Can you just clarify what type of connectivity they all have? Is it just Wi-Fi for all these?
Actually, no. Okay, so Kindles generally come with Amazon's super special wireless connectivity.
Yeah.
Yes, which secretly uses, I believe it uses the AT&T 3G network to be able to download books wirelessly, as well as Wi-Fi. Kobos and the digital paper, those are just Wi-Fi. And of course, iPads have Wi-Fi and cellular options.
So different connectivity options depending on what best suits your need.
But also you can drag and drop.
Yeah.
You can drag and drop books with a Kobo, with a digital paper.
With the Kindle.
Yeah, you can drag and drop with any of these.
Yeah, so you don't need necessarily connectivity unless you are on the go and you just happen to want to download a new book. If you're conscious about it, I was super conscious in college when the Wi-Fi was precious and not necessarily everywhere, of just always preloading my stuff before it was necessary. So there you go.
So now as we get to, we've talked about college kids, this kind of applies to high school students too. As we get to younger students, I do feel like cost and durability become, I keep harping on this for devices for younger kids, cost and durability become bigger factors.
Yeah, I'm a klutz. As you can see, as a 30-year-old woman, I decided that I need a case, and after 1 year, you can already see it's falling apart because I drop things a lot.
So one advantage of the Kindle lineup, I would say, is that there's a lot of cases and they're relatively durable.
Yeah, there's a lot of cases out there, and haha, no surprise, you can get them on Amazon very easily. You can customize them really easily if you want something a little more special. There's tons of Kindle cases on Etsy that have a little more flair. I have one at home that's BMO from Adventure Time, and it's really cute, and I take it on trips. But for everyday reading, I use this. This is a smart case, that's what they say, so like it'll wake it up and close it when I close it. And it's really easy for one-handed reading.
Now, what if you want a waterproof e-reader? Are there options for that?
There are options, but you are going to pay more. So like this is the Aura One. There is the Aura H2O, which I believe costs $180.
Yeah, it's $179, I think.
It's
Yep,
$179, so that's gonna set you back a bit. But you can take it to the beach. You can dunk it. When I tested that, I dunked it in a sink. While I was on Fastest Mobile, I dumped it in a sink for an hour, and it was fine.
And then in the Kindle world, unfortunately, if you want water resistance, you have to go all the way up to the $250 Kindle Oasis.
Yeah, so I guess the Aura version of this would be your
Yeah,
cheaper
I
option.
wouldn't, like, I admittedly, you know, because I'm the ebook reviewer, I use a Kindle Oasis myself, but I'm not sure I would recommend it to a lot of people just because it's so expensive.
Yeah, and then what's your opinion on buttons? Because most of these don't have them, but I noticed that this one does have the physical button.
I like them. I like the page turn buttons. Yeah. Like, I wouldn't call it a deal breaker though. Like, it isn't like, I use a Paperwhite as well. You know, I've used these other devices. I like the physical buttons, but I wouldn't pay extra for the physical buttons.
That makes sense. One thing that I do like from the Kobo when I was testing it is that it has the color changing lights. So you can go from blue energy lights during the day to help you keep focused, or if you are pulling an all-nighter, or if you're trying to relax and just get into a bedtime routine, it does shift to a warm orangey glow.
Oh, that's nice.
So that you can, if you're going with Amazon, they are blue light only. So
And then, of course, you can do the different color changing lights on iPads as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you can't do that.
Any more questions out there?
Cool.
Okay.
Cool.
So we have this roundup of e-readers up here on PCMag.com, and so what are our basic suggestions for, let's say, elementary school students, high school students, college students?
I think if you're a college student, a Paperwhite is going to be a decent choice for you if what you're primarily doing is textbook reading, book reading for whatchamacallit, your literature class. You can borrow from libraries easily, so you don't actually have to buy the book from your college bookstore. I think this is probably the way to go for college students.
Okay.
Especially since you don't have to lug stuff around with you. This is way, way, way lighter than lugging around your textbook.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, like, it's really it's kind of boring, but really all categories of people, the Paperwhite is kind of the sweet spot in the U.S.
It is the sweet spot, and you know, if you're like me and you really love to use Goodreads to track everything, I actually love the fact that Amazon and Goodreads have this thing. Once I finish a book on my Kindle, it'll update on my Goodreads and show me all the parts that I annotated. So it's actually really easy for me that way. What would you suggest for kids?
For kids, I mean, once again, it's the Paperwhite, or it's either the Paperwhite. I mean, the thing is, the kid is going to end up having both, and this is my experience. The kid's going to end up having both an e-reader and a tablet, because she's going to want to, play games and read comics and that sort of stuff on the tablet. But you do not want a child taking a tablet to bed. I am firm on this. It really damages sleep patterns. The light coming from the tablet really messes with your brain late at night, and you want that restful e-ink e-reader to help the kid sleep.
Okay.
And so I think you end up having both things. Yeah.
Yeah. What if your kid is super into sports or a super klutz? Do you think that in your experience, has the Paperwhite been durable enough for that, or should parents maybe go for something that's a little cheaper and easily replaced?
I think the Paperwhite has been durable enough. You may want to look at a screen protector. That's the only concern. We've had Paperwhites knocked around in our house quite a lot, and the only danger is if the screen actually physically gets nicked.
Ah, I see.
And then you have what we call a rip in the universe, and you see the backlight shining through like you're in that episode of Doctor Who from like season 5 with the crack in her wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you don't want that, and that's why you might want a screen protector.
Okay, and then maybe law school students could deal with something like this?
Yeah. Graduate students in law, in the sciences, may need a bigger form factor. This is also professional musicians also tend to really like these because once again, on a 10-inch or 13-inch screen, sheet music looks terrific.
Oh, that's true.
And
this is about the size that I would want for sheet music.
Exactly.
In reading.
And so these digital paper devices, they're terribly expensive, but for those, those limited groups of people who do a lot of reading of stuff that's large format, they can be absolute lifesavers.
Especially since you can take nice little notes with them. So, law students, science people, medical students with charts and stuff.
Are you a science person?
Are you a science person?
Yes.
Are you in the STEM?
Okay.
And artists. An artist might want a tablet.
Yeah, an artist will want a tablet. Okay, great. So thank you all for watching. This has been One Cool Thing with PCMag.com. Our back to school week continues. Tomorrow we will have more back to school products. If you're on Facebook, come back around-ish 10 a.m. Eastern. Have your Facebook window open. We'll tell you when we're running. And if you are on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We have a new One Cool Thing every day.